Okay. It is the coming of age process that determines such a major part of who we will become, what role we play in society, and what kind of a person we will be. And, that isn't to say that people can change in their adulthood, but, um, you know, your upbringing is what really um, establishes your values and your morals, if any. And you get a lot of that from your the nurture aspect of your upbringing that comes from your guardians, your parents, whoever's raised you, people that are around you consistently, your peers, your friends, siblings, teachers. Typically, things that we associate with people that are in your social sphere as you age and develop. But outside of nurture, you also have the nature aspect of growing up, and so really what is in your nature, or what is your nature, and so that's kind of determined by your genetics and also what has influenced you, um, like media, and really our primary influence is other people, right? So it isn't just the people that are in our social sphere, but we also have icons in, popular media, and like the mainstream idols, and people that we idolize ourselves, who we may be kind of part of a cult following towards them. Just people that we admire for various reasons, whether it's just singular aspects of their lives or their character, how they're portrayed. But there's also times in our lives where, and it may be short term or it may be longer term, we find ourselves in kind of like a mentoree. Yeah, I think that's right. Mentoree sort of dynamic where we are learning from someone and they are aware of the fact that we're learning from them. And the difference for me, the way that I define a mentor, is a positive role model that is conscious of the fact that they are teaching us, they're actively working to teach us, and are aware of the fact that we admire them. But the difference between a mentor and an idol, especially the big defining difference for me, is that mentors often admire us and the person that they're mentoring. And that's really important, because whether it is that a mentor, admires us because they see themselves in us, or they are hopeful for us, or they see something in us, whether it is themselves or promise, or an intrigue, or whatever it may be. So they have a reason for helping us, and they are encouraged to help us and for us to do good. And so mentors are far and away the most positive role models. And unfortunately, they are the most uncommon. They're very you're very lucky to have had a mentor dynamic and been a part of that. If you are or have been, you may not, but you should recognize the positive outcome that was available, or that came of that situation. And try to take advantage, or seek out mentor opportunities, because there really are good role models. And a good role model is not a perfect person. Perfect people do not exist. But they're someone that is transparent and honest. They are tolerant and open-minded. They discuss rather than just talk or listen. They discuss with you, And they don't always have to be this older person. They can be a peer that you admire. They can be a sibling that you admire. You can admire and be mentored by people that are younger than you, but you admire them for the reason that they just seem to have things figured out, or there's an aspect of their lives they're doing really well in that you want to learn how to do, or how to be successful like they are. And so mentors can come from anywhere and can be really anyone, but it's important that they humanize themselves by being honest and being transparent and being open. So mentors, in essence, are anyone. They can come from anywhere, but we learn from them through, either passively or actively, just by watching them passively, or by, actually being taught by them. And so, you can have just about anyone be a mentor. And like I said, the only requirements are that they're honest, they have something to teach, they're active in teaching, they're consistent, and really they're just positive and influential. They influence good in your life, and so they encourage you to be a good version of yourself, and to establish your values, and to seek out success, and to all around be a good member of society. And so that's how I see a mentor. Before I continue with this idea, I just want to say that I am not by no means an expert in any of this. I am not majoring in any of this. I am only interested in these sorts of things, and they're on my mind, and so I choose to talk about them. And these videos are just as much for me as they are for other people, and so I do not claim to be an expert on any of this, but I just am kind of spewing my thoughts out. So that's where I'm at. So don't take this, my word as gospel, but I hope it gives you something to think about, because I am thinking about it. So that's how I classify mentors. Really, with role models, I've tried to, through contemplation, it's been a good little while, but I've kind of structured it in such a way, and you'll notice that there's a pattern in my videos. Whenever I'm talking about anything, really, I try to formulate it, or I try to structure it, and that helps me to understand it better. And so for me, I structured this in such a way that I've gotten really 3 categories of role models, and mentor was the first one, and that's the positive role model example. Of course, there are lots of positive role models, but when I think of a positive role model, I think of it as being someone active in being a role model, and being positively influential actively, and they're aware that they're doing that, and therefore they kind of is like they're feeding themselves, or it's like they're feeding the, what is that called, perpetual, positivity. So they understand that they're being a positive role model, and so therefore it encourages them to be positive, sort of thing, if you understand. I know that's kind of a little bit confusing, but anyway, let's move on. So the next category of role models is idols, and I mentioned this at the beginning, but an idol for me is like an icon, or someone that is idolized in society by many people, or by a group, like in the form of like a cult following, but they're just recognized as being, or as having an attribute or multiple attributes. Their character is defined as being admirable, or is credited as being admirable. And so idols are the neutral category. where mentors are positive, idols are neutral. They're not actively good or actively bad necessarily. And while it can be harmful to idolize, it's not nearly as harmful as the third category that I'm going to talk about. So we're going to leave idols as like this neutral thing to just consider that. And I'm, purposefully not going to give any examples of this because I feel like that is mostly subjective. For me, I would say giving an example of a mentor, like I've had an instructor who I've actually talked about in videos before, who I would consider a mentor to me, and is an active mentor to me. And because mentors are in as part of your social structure and idols are not, you may know who idols are, but they don't know who you are typically. They're just kind of this neutral thing that's not actively acting upon you. You may see idols in the media, on TV, in movies, through books, social media, music, sports, all kinds of stuff. And they're really just idols or icons. We don't really know who these people are because they're not part of our social structure, and so we can only make assumptions. And in that, they remain neutral because we can only go as far as, like I said, to make assumptions about them. So whether they're a good or bad person. So you just have to take everything as far as idols and icons goes with a good bit, more than just a grain of salt, because people are often not who they seem, and it can be, harmful to idolize. But it's totally healthy and productive to admire aspects and attributes of people and use those to strengthen yourself, because I have talked about this in the gratitude video. And yeah, admiration is always positive, whereas idolization may not be. So you would have to be careful making that distinction. Now, the third category is the negative category, and it's the anti-models, the people that we know to be dishonest or inconsistent or mysterious. For me, the primary aspect of an anti-model is that they encourage intolerance. And so what that means is basically people that try to restructure or to discourage like involvement. They oppose participation from certain parties for various reasons, and they're just actively a force for negative or selfish motives, and they often use hyperbole to, build themselves up, and they're just overall dishonest. These are people that are often portrayed in media as being negative people, but they may also be portrayed in media as positive people. They're, examples of sports figures, musicians, politicians, all sorts. They're all over the place, and unfortunately for us, there's most likely a dozen of them for every, probably quite a bit more of them for every positive role model. And so negative role models, or anti-models as I'm categorizing them, are the people that we can be influenced by and encouraged by to avoid negative or bad outcomes. And we can learn from anyone in any of these categories. And I want to emphasize this third one, these anti-models especially, because we can learn how to do good by avoiding the bad that they encourage. And so understanding who your role models are and what category they fit best into and to not take them too seriously if you don't understand them fully. I I like to talk about this. I discuss this a lot with people in my classes and people that I'm talking to, and I'll also talk about it here briefly, momentarily. I am someone who appreciates the connect or the you know the I am someone who appreciates the relationship between the artist and their art. And I personally don't believe that the artist should be separated from their art. And so, if someone is this fantastic artist or this fantastic musician or this fantastic sports player, but their character is poor and they are an anti-hero or a poor they have weak character and they put others down, or they encourage intolerance. I don't know that for me that devalues their art, or their creation. And so that's my personal philosophy as far as that goes. And I'll touch on this or incorporate this into other topics more and go more in depth in it. But that's just something to consider. And I think that having these categories, I know at least for me, it helps me to consider who I am idolizing, who is encouraging me, who I admire, and who I can learn from through their consequences or their bad decisions. And so it's okay to not know or to not understand someone, but to understand, or it is important to at least understand that you don't know who they are fully, and to just take it with grains of salt or a grain of salt, and just admire the things that you do know about them. And so I'll leave you with that. I think I touched on everything that I wanted to. Often when I make these videos, I will come to realize that I left a lot of things out that I wanted to talk about. And so I'm sure I will make many videos on the same thing and just expanding and eventually I'd like there to be some discussion and bringing up things, because I know my opinions on things will change and there will be new ideas and all sorts of things. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the development, and I'm really enjoying watching the evolution of the topics, and I have so much to think about, so it's really cool. But yeah, I'm enjoying making the videos. It's going good. And yeah, thank you for watching.